Hello everyone, welcome back to our second exercise. Today we will be showing a demonstration on spectrofluorimetric analysis of quinine sulfate. Of course, we did the um, UV visible spectrophotometric analysis with the same quinine sulfate during our last experiment. So for that we prepared our quinine sulfate solution using hydrochloric acid. But for fluorimetric analysis, the sample should be prepared using sulfuric acid. Okay, right. What you are seeing on the screen is a spectrofluorimeter. There are two different variants. One is called as photofluorimeter. Okay, photofluorimeter. So there you cannot find scanning options. So there you will find only filters, a minimal option. You cannot completely scan your sample from 200 to 400. That was not possible. That seems to be not possible there. But when you have spectrofluorimeters, when the term spectro is used, that means you have a scanning capability. So from 200 to 400, you can scan your sample in a predetermined, what I can say, scanning speed. Okay, right. So just I would like to show you the model, right? So it's 650 10S fluorescence spectrophotometer. That's the model number. And on the left hand side you are seeing it's actually make Hitachi, the company that manufactured this machine, right? Then I'll be showing you the panels here. So you can see some mechanical switches here. Okay, these switches seems to be the one normally you can see in 70s 80s radios. Okay, so that sort of buttons are here, and you can see I just want to show you this one. Yes, zero adjust. Okay, so you can see the zero adjust, zero suppression. So using these buttons you are supposed to set your blank reading 0. Okay, then you need to do or set the scale with your highest concentration solution to 100 using these buttons. Okay, so literally speaking, you are actually fixing the scale from 0 to 100 using your blank and the highest dilution, the dilution that is having the highest concentration, and the other solution that are having the concentration or dilution in between them will fall in line. Okay, right. So you are using these buttons to set those things, and you have a set of buttons at the bottom. Okay, you can see the thing, and this seems to be important button in case if you want to scan your sample to pick the excitation wavelength, right? So that is actually required when the excitation wavelength was not known. If it is not known, or otherwise in case the sample may tend to show some sort of experimental variations due to altering conditions, different lab manual variations. Okay, so in such case those samples to be checked for their excitation wavelength. Excitation wavelength is nothing but the lambda max for that particular sample. So we are supposed to determine that one. Okay, right. So these switches are actually meant in case if excitation wavelength of your analyte is not actually reported if it is not known, or otherwise it is actually affected by experimental condition. In those conditions you need a scanning option, otherwise there is no need, right? So this seems to be a panel that you are going to use. Of course, quite a old instrument, still working fine. That's why you are not finding any digital plate for operating it. Okay, right. So at the top you are seeing a screen here. So this is the one going to show you the fluorescent intensity, right? So for each and every concentration, how the fluorescent intensity is getting varied, that you are going to read from this screen, right? So now at the top you can see there are two wheels. Okay, so you can see the thing. This wheel you are supposed to set for emission wavelength, and you have one more wheel here, right? So this wheel you will be using, this is the wheel, right? You can see the reading here, isn't it? So you need to simply rotate and fix the excitation wavelength. It's not connected with the computer, everything seems to be mechanically fixed on the instrument. Okay, so the last time we saw instrument UV visible spectrophotometer, that was totally computer operated. This is mechanical. Okay, so you have a wheel to set up your excitation wavelength, right? And there is a small button here. It's another wheel. Okay, and this wheel is actually meant for setting the slit width because you know the thing, a monochromator is actually there in between your source and the sample, and your radiation has to pass through the monochromator, and that monochromator has got two slits, one for the entry of radiation from the source, and the radiation will leave the monochromator through another slit. Okay, so those slit widths can be set using this button. So similar setup is here for emission also. Okay, so you have another monochromator, isn't it? Fluorescent spectrophotometer has got two monochromators, one between your source and the sample, and another between sample and the detector. So you can see, so this is the area where your source is there, right? And this is the area where your detector is there. So it's actually 90-degree mounting, right? So you have a source here and you have a detector here. Okay, and your sample will be placed here. So I can open the instrument from here, right? So here you can see a provision to put your cuvette, right? So then you can see one opening, right, just behind the holder. So that opening is actually meant for allowing the radiation to reach your cuvette. That's here. Okay, so you are going to place your cuvette here. Radiation will come from this side and it will enter. You have a window here for entry of radiation, and you have a exit here for a radiation to move this direction. So what you are having here, this side, so your emitted radiation from this phase will reach here, and it will go to pass through a monochromator, and it will reach your detector. So you can see the 90-degree mounting, isn't it? So it's dark, bit dark. Yes, you can see the one, right? Okay, and bit different, isn't it? So this is regarding your sample holding cabinet. So once you have to putting the cuvette, you need to close and take the reading, right? Now I will show you the cuvette used for holding your fluorescent sample, and it will be bit different from the one that we have seen in case of UV visible spectrophotometer, and the way it has to be held will also differ because In case of UV visible spectrophotometer, the light actually travels straightly. It takes 180-degree mode. From one end, it will pass through the cuvette and it will reach the other end. The pathway is linear. There is no diversion. But in case of fluorescence, it has to reach the cuvette, and from the cuvette you are supposed to measure the emitted radiation in 90-degree mode. Means it is not traveling linearly, it actually travels perpendicularly. So you need to have a phase, because in case of UV visible spectrophotometer, the cuvette seems to have grounded phase, isn't it? And in case of your fluorescence, so I am showing you the cuvette here. Okay, so let me place it here. Okay, so you will not find any grounded phase here. You can see all are transparent, isn't it? All the four sides are transparent, right? And in this case you need to hold the cuvette diagonally. You can see the thing, I am holding it diagonally without touching the face through which the radiation will pass through. Okay, and there are some markings given on the cuvette. I think you can visualize a line on this side. Okay, little bit it's get so now it is visible. You can see a small line at the top, isn't it? You can see the thing here, right? So that face should be facing your detector. So I said detector is here. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to ensure that line, the face is actually facing the detector. So in that way I need to put the cuvette in the sample holder. Okay, so cuvette holder, right? Okay, so now here you can see just a minute, let me keep this one here, or otherwise I will hand over the cuvette to Sabita so that she will perform the demo for you. Okay, so Sabita will show you the way the sample should be placed in your instrument and how to take the reading. Okay, so she prepared the serial dilution of quinine sulfate in sulfuric acid. The concentration seems to be in the range. क्या range है?
Sir, 10 to 50.
10 to 50, 10 microgram to 50 microgram per ml concentration. So she is having a multiple dilution. One dilution is having 10 microgram per ml, another is 20 microgram per ml, another 30, 40, 50, and we have one blank. Okay, so all those dilutions were present here, right? So one more information I forgot to tell you, the I said your source is here. Source is actually xenon arc lamp, and I said your detector is here. Detector is your photomultiplier tube. Okay, right. So now I am handing over the thing to Sabita, and she will show you how to take the reading using spectrophlorimeter, right? So she will be using, because in the last experiment itself we have shown how to fill the cuvette. So only thing, she will be holding the cuvette a bit differently, because this cuvette is not having a grounded surface, so she is actually holding it diagonally. You can see the thing. Okay, so hold the cuvette diagonally, fill it, rinse it first, then the second filling. After second filling, it has to be cleaned using a tissue paper in case if your cuvette is wet. It happens sometimes when you are filling it, right? So ensure that nothing stays. So here she puts the thing. Okay, now you can see. So the sample cuvette holding your sample is perfectly placed in, and you will be getting the radiation from this source. It's going to pass here, and the emitted radiation will travel and it will enter here. Okay, so it will enter here, and your detector in this place, okay, it will read the fluorescent intensity, and that will be shown in this screen that we are going to take. So what she did actually, she took the dilution that is having the maximum concentration, because we need to fix your excitation wavelength and emission wavelength, keeping your solution that is having a highest concentration. So what we are going to do is, we are not going to scan our sample to determine the excitation wavelength and emission wavelength. Rather, we are going to use the reported values, because quinine sulfate is a well-known compound, and for which the excitation and emission wavelength is well documented, and we are going to use the same wavelengths for exciting our sample as well as recording our emission. So that we are going to do by simply rotating the scale in the instrument. That's she will be fixing it right now. So
Sir, it's blank.
so okay, so what is there in the sample holder seems to be blank. Blank means only solvent. Here in this case the solvent is
0.05 molar H2.
0.05 molar H2SO4 seems to be your solvent. So she will be setting 0 reading with the blank. Okay, so and for that she will be using the zero adjust buttons, and you need to make it 0. It's already 0, so it requires no adjustment.
Yes.
Okay, so our blank is set. Now she will be repeating the thing with a dilution having the highest concentration, and dilution having highest concentration will be used to fix your scale to 100. Okay, so a scale is fixed from 0 to 100 using a blank and a solution having the highest concentration. Okay, so she rinsed it once with the solution. Ensure it is dry. Okay, so now you can see the thing. The blank was not showing any fluorescence, but now you can see when I am putting the sample which is holding quinine sulfate in sulfuric acid, you can easily visualize the thing. UV radiation is passing through, and you are getting a blue fluorescence. That actually the emission will be on all the direction, and 90-degree mode seems to be having the maximum emission. So that's the thing we are going to collect from the 90-degree mode. Okay, so now she will be closing the door, and she will take the reading. I think she already fixed the excitation wavelength. You can see that it is around 350. Okay, it lies between 340 and 360. It's 350. That's the reported excitation wavelength. It has already been fixed. And emission wavelength, she fixed it at 450. 445. Okay, so you can see the thing, it's already fixed. So that's why we are directly taking the reading. Now you can see the screen. The screen is actually showing the values, and we are supposed to set the value to 100, and she is actually doing it using the fine tune button, sensitivity button. You can see the thing, and this button is used to adjust, fine tune the value so that it will display 100. Once it is displaying 100 means you are fixing 100 as a emission intensity for this one. Means you are setting, literally you are setting the scale from 0 to 100 using a blank and the solution having the highest concentration. So it takes a bit time to get stabilized. Once it gets stabilized, then we can start measuring the fluorescent intensity of the other concentrations that lies between 0 and the highest concentration. Okay, right? So, and you need to read the reading taken with each and every concentration. Make a note for the fluorescent intensity. Then you are supposed to prepare a standard graph. Okay, so now I am slightly waiting for the system to get stabilized. Once it gets stabilized, then we will proceed to take the measurement of other dilutions. Okay. It takes a bit longer time to get stabilized. Sometimes it happens because it's an old machine and fluorescence.
Freeze, no? So it's very cold. And
Okay, so what C is actually telling, we are supposed to conduct this experiment demo in the morning session. We could not able to do it, so we kept all the solution in refrigeration just to preserve it. And in the second half, we took the solutions from the refrigerator and directly we entered the lab to perform the demo. And fluorescence measurements are actually highly influenced by temperature variation. Okay, so that's the reason why you are getting the stability problem, why you are getting the reading not getting stabilized quite easily. So we are supposed to allow the samples to reach the room temperature, then we need to take our measurement. So we missed to did that. Okay, so that's why we are getting this problem. Okay, so I will come back after some time after getting the system stable. Then we will go for taking the measurement of other dilutions. So we will note the readings, then we will try to construct the standard graph. So with known samples, we are going to construct a standard graph, and we will be also measuring the intensity, fluorescent intensity of the unknown sample. Okay, so once the value for unknown sample is known, and if you could able to construct the standard curve, then using the standard curve you could able to calculate the concentration of the unknown sample. Okay, that we will do. I will come back shortly after your system gets stable. Okay.